In this tutorial we'll be starting to model our characters off the reference images we set up in the last session. So our reference images should be already set up. Again, remember this R, so I should be able to grab them. So there we go. So to begin with, one important thing to remember is we only need to model one half of the character. So if we're looking from the front view, we only need to model the right, and then the left will be mirrored over and copied across. So we're going to be using the front and the side mainly as the views to model in, and then checking every so often in the 3D view that is looking correct. So to begin with, we're going to create a polygon primitive cylinder. This should create it at 0, 0, that's where you want it to begin with. Then what we're going to do is, to begin with, we're going to go over here to the right in the channel box layer editor, just change the name to right leg. It's always good to name them. Then in the inputs where it says polycylinder 1, we're going to change this subdivision axis from 20 down to 10, just to show you what that does. As I bring it down, it reduces it right down, even down to a triangle sort of shape. But we're just going to have that at 10, so we don't need any more topology than that at the moment. We can add more detail later on. We are also going to set this subdivision caps to 0, just because we're going to delete these in a minute, so it just makes it easier to grab. So let's make sure that's on 10. Okay. So the next stage is to select the model. What we're going to do, we're going to go back into a front view, pull this up, scale this right up. So again, remember in the scaling tools you want to do using the yellow, so it does it in this view as well. So if I grab this yellow now, you'll see it does it in both this view and this view. But if I was to grab, say, this one, it's just going to go in that direction. As you can see at the top, it's just gone wider, not the other ways. If you was to grab here, it's going bigger in this view, but it's staying just as thin on this view. So really we need to grab this yellow box in the middle. Again, going from this view and this view, so from here to begin with, that'll do to start. In this view, we just need to pull this across so it's in about the right position. Rotate it, so you're getting something along. You want this red line here to be sort of aiming for the knee. The same here, you probably want it a bit more angled back. Once this is set up, rotate it around like that. So again, I need to make this a little bit smaller, it's a bit too big. Let's bring this down. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be roughly around right. Again, try to just use the middle for now, the middle scaling tool. So what we're going to do, now we've got this roughly positioned, is we are going to go over here to the modeling toolkit on the right. If this is not there for whatever reason, if you go to Windows, General Editors, I believe it's under, Modeling Editors, Modeling Toolkit, and then you can get to Window and then you can put it wherever you want. So mine's just popped up here, but if yours is on another screen, you can just drag. So say it's like this, you can just drag that to, you should be able to drag that to the tab. It's a little bit fiddly. Just like, nope, can't quite get it. Okay. If you are having problems like this, another thing you can do is go on Windows, workspaces, and then just reset Maya Classic. So that brings it back. Yep. So once you've done this, we're going to go to faces. Now the faces we want are the top and the bottom faces, so this one. So if I go into the 3D view, so it's a bit easy to see. This. Again, you want your model to be on around the middle. You don't want it back here or against any of the planes. And then here. So you've got a nice hollow model to begin with. So we're going to be modeling a lot with the vertices and the edges. So what we're going to do is, if we go to the edges and double click on one, it will select the loop. So it's selected all the way around. If we're on vertices, we could drag and select all the ones in a line. It's going to be important to remember to select them all that are connecting in a line. So when we rotate and things like that, we're not missing any. So like if I was to rotate like this, or if I was to squeeze them down, like that. From the side view, you can see that's having a few issues here. Oh, my transform constraint is on. Just turn that off if you do have that on for any reason. So now you'll see the squeezing down to the same level, which may be useful, for example, for the knee. So if I was to drag these down now towards the knee, move this across a little bit. So if aiming for these two to be the edges of your knee, if you will. So when I say the edges of your knee, I mean the actual knee cap. Obviously this will be the size of the knee. You can then squeeze them in. So you're getting something like this. So like now getting a bit thinner. Check that from the side. Now you might want to use the individual scaling to how you want it. So here, scale that in. So it's just doing it in this view. It's not changing any others. So you see here it stayed the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little move around of these vertices, or you can do edges. So if I double click on this edge, rotate. Again, you may just want to rotate in one thing at a time just to get it right. So rotate, pull it up, bring it in. Now I may scale it up. Remember, when you're scaling, be careful. I usually scaling both in all directions using the yellow box in the middle, and then when I'm sort of in place, I'll just scale it on the other side. So making this line, if you will. Go to the side, just check this. It's a bit too big. So I'll do something like this. Now these lines here that's sticking out, like the bum here and the leg, don't worry too much about this. We're really just looking to get the general shape. We can add that detail later. So from here, now we've got sort of the top part of the leg. Again, if this bit's sticking out, don't worry too much, just trying to get the general direction of the leg. So next what we're going to do is look at the knee. So generally you want to be working in loops. So loops are like this, where these are all quads, so 4 sides, and they're going round in a loop that connect back up. So as you can see, this is going all the way around, all quads. So you really want to be working like this, also sometimes known as ribbons. We just call them quads. So specifically on the knee, we have to be careful we don't just stretch this down, because when we animate, we will have some issues. So as you can see on this image here, this is where the line has gone straight across, and the knee sticks out like a line. Whereas what we're going to look to try to do is this sort of, just zoom in, sort of loop like this. So the interlock, so what they do is, you'll see this also in the elbows and the shoulders up here. This interlocking shape will allow for the knee to pop out like an actual kneecap. So what we're going to do to make that is going to select this edge and this edge, so missing that middle one. We are just going to ensure that it's just those two that are being selected, none at the back of it have been selected by accident. If they are, you want to deselect them, you just want these two. Now what we're going to do from the front is if we hold shift and drag down, so if you hold shift you can extrude those edges in a direction. So I'm just going to drag them down. So it's something like that. If there's any others being dragged down, you need to either delete those faces or change them. Change it so you've only got those two coming down at the moment. Something like this. So I'm just going to select, let's go to the selection tool first so I can see them. Move these across just so they're sort of lined up with these a bit better. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to Vertices, select this one and this one, and we're going to pull them up so we start getting a bit of an angle, and then this one and this one. We're actually going to select the scale tool. Now if I scale these inwards, because the pivot is in the middle, it'll bring those together. Just be careful that from the side it's not going off anywhere. It shouldn't be, but if it is, just be aware of that. These may need bringing down slightly on the side and inwards. So if we look in the 3D view, we start getting that knee starting to come in. So now what we want to do is going back to the front view, select the edges, so this one and this one, and grab them, hold shift to select multiple ones at a time, just click, don't drag, or else you will extrude them. Then we are looking for, in the modelling toolkit, this bridge tool. What the bridge tool is going to do is going to connect those two edges with a face. So click bridge, you'll see here it's connected them up. So here we get a little box that allows us to change some settings. So if we wanted to add more divisions, as you can see it's adding lines. We only need the one face, so that we need that on 0. There are some other different settings here, but we don't need to be too aware of them right now. We just need to make sure it's it's no divisions and that it's just connecting those straight. Once that's done, you can hit enter or just click off, and you have now got the face. So that face now needs to be, sorry, that bottom edge now needs to be dragged down a little bit, just to make it a bit more like this. Then the face, maybe make it a bit smaller so it's a bit further in. So you get something like this. It's just about tweaking it ever so slightly until you get what you're looking for. So I'm looking for something sort of like this. Can be a little fiddly, but you'll get there. Remember, just check from the side. So yeah, we're getting this sort of kneecap here. So now you've got this sort of first loop. So if we look, it's coming down and looping back up. And as we showed here, as we wanted it to do, we want to come down and go back up. Obviously this has more topology. Back to Maya. So one thing you can do now is you can select this edge and just bridge those to fill that little gap. So you should get something like this. Again, just click off. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to now make the loop that goes like this. So we need to select this edge and this edge, and again we're going to extrude them. So go to your directional buttons over here, your move tool, hold shift and drag them down. Again, you may just want to tweak these, so I'll probably select these first, go to the side view. So they're going a bit too straight, so I want them to be pulled back a bit. Remember the knee leg sort of comes down like this and then back out. So like this, maybe on line with this line that's coming down, because that's going to make sense in a moment too. So again, you're coming down. I know this image is a little bit lower, but from the front it seems to be in about the right place. Again, this can be brought down like that, so again it roughly right. Again, like I said, we can clean it up, make it better once we get the rough geometry in. We don't want to be adding geometry just for the sake of it. So the next step is to select these two and bridge them, and then again just click off. So as you're aware, you're probably realizing now, a lot of this modeling technique is extruding, moving of vertices, lines, bridging, using a lot of these tools in here in the modeling toolkit. So the next step is we need to straighten this back up so it's like this line was here. So now we've sort of modeled the main part of the knee. We need this to be like this again, but also for it to be level and have that loop going round. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually select all these ones that weren't connected, that way it didn't extrude, sorry, and we're going to actually extrude those now. So go back to the side view. Again, you really want to be working in the front and side, just checking in the 3D view for this sort of thing. We're going to pull them down and pull them back. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make this connect up so that this is then wrong view. So then this will be a loop, it'll come down here around, and then we'll straighten out when we get there. So really, we probably want to pull these down a bit further, just around here, aiming for about the same level as this line. And then you'll see there's like a little gap in between. So the next step we're going to do is we're actually going to go back to the vertices, and we're going to use a tool called Target Weld. So if you click on Target Weld, make sure you have no vertices selected, and then what you can do is you can set it for the target or the center. So the center will, what this is going to do is going to connect the two vertices together. So if you go to target, it'll select the first one and then move it to the second one you choose. If it's center, it'll work out the middle between them and connect them there. So really we just want it on target for now. And if you click and then drag, it'll sort of lock on. Just make sure you're locking onto the right vertices before you let go, or else it will connect to the wrong one. So this is the one we're looking for, and there it is, connected it up. Again on the other side, drag. Just make sure you are getting the right vertices, otherwise you'd get it, you know, sort of going off over that way. So again, this might be better to do in the 3D view just so you can see what you're doing a bit better. So you've got something like this. So now you can click Target Weld just to turn that off. And then what we're going to do, we're going to just straighten this up. So we go back to the side view, we drag, select all the bottom vertices. Just make sure you have just got those selected, you haven't got any above it selected. I'm going to go to scale and just use this green, or the one going up, just to scale them so they're level. Just that one you want to do, you don't want to scale them in any other direction. So next you want to maybe just drag that in, pull it down slightly. You may want to start moving some of these other vertices, so I'm just selecting these two at the front. I'm just going to pull them out a little bit more, maybe bring those down, push them back in a little bit. And you'll see here you're getting the sort of knee, that knee popping out. With very little geometry, you're getting that sort of shape. Yep. And now again, if I select, so if you click on one face and hold shift and double click the next one, it will select those loop of faces. So as you can see, that's a loop again, and then we've got the loop up here. So the only geometry that's not really in a loop is these four, but if you double click on that, there's a loop there, that one we was looking for. And if we do it this way, we've got the loop here, which again we was looking for. So the next step is to sort of finish off the leg. So I'm going to go to the front view, select edges, pull these across to the side. It's a bit more of this way, maybe just move the knee across slightly. Again, remember you're aiming for down the leg. Just sort of tidy that up. Then you want it in this sort of angle going towards where the foot is on the drawing. If we go to the side view, just check that. The thickness of this is pretty good, but it's probably a little bit wide. Maybe needs to go a little bit thicker. Sorry, thinner. A little bit thicker actually, because it kind of pops out a little bit here and then it goes back in. So next what we're going to do is, with those edges at the bottom selected, so just click on one, double click it. We're then going to extrude this again, so shift and drag. So it comes down. We're now aiming for sort of the ankle. So again, these two lines should indicate this. So next what we're going to do is going to make that smaller, quite a bit smaller. Drag this across. So getting this sort of leg shape coming down. I'm just going to go to the side view. As you can see, the leg isn't quite right. That is because it's not scaled it in enough. So we need to scale that in. So it's about the same thickness as the image. So we're aiming for here. And as you can see, there's a little sort of pop here popping out. So we need to just select these, pull this in, drag it down slightly, getting it to where we want it. Again, the knee seems to be popping in a little bit too much there. So what I'm going to do is going to go to 3D view, just select this one line, and then just sort of eye that up. So what we've got here, very quickly, with limited geometry, is a leg. So again, this can be tweaked to, you know, how you like it, but this is like sort of the base geometry you'd be looking for at the very to begin with. So again, this can be pulled out to the side maybe, just so you've got a bit more of this sort of straight line coming down the leg. Again, this actually looks like it's a little bit lower where it pops out. Got something like that. It's just these little tweaks until you get it about right. Yeah, it's about right. So now what you could do is you can go through, select some of these, pull this back so it's a little bit further back. Go back to the front view. I think that's roughly about right. Again, the image is quite drawn, exaggerated. You kind of just want to do it by what you roughly know a leg is like. So we know on the bottom lower part of the leg it does stick out a bit about halfway down and then it goes back in again. We're just looking for that. And what we're going to do, we're going to add one more loop up here just to make this thickness here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the edge tool and we're going to select all these edges at the top. So just these ones on this line. So really all we should have selected is, as you can see like mine, we don't want any of these top ones selected or with the knee or anything like that. You're just looking for those 10 edges as it says here. Then we're going to use a tool, so go back to the front view so we can see. We're going to use a tool called Connect. So here in the modeling toolkit again, click Connect. And what this will do, it'll add a loop for you of lines and vertices. So here you'll get some options in the right. So segments is how many lines it's going to do. So if I up that to 2, it's going to add the 2. If I want this to be further up the leg, you slide this, so 0.7, it goes up. Want it lower, maybe a lower number, so 0.2 maybe. It's now much closer to the knee. 0.5, I'll work that out in the centre. 0.5, is it going to do it? There we go. Then the pinch will only work if you have more than one. This is how close together these will be. So if it's at 0, it'll evenly split them. So this space, this space, this space should be even. But if I change this to say 0.5, it's going to make it bigger. If I put this to minus 0.5, going to bring them together. So really we just need that on 0 for now, and we're only going to add one line. Change that back to 1, and we want it about there. That's about right. So just click enter. Oop, there we go. Let's try that again. Connect, and then just click the arrow up here. It's fine. You see it's added this line here. So now if I go to vertices, you can see there's added vertices. So what we're going to do, go back to edge. It should have it selected anyway. Just going to scale that up a bit. Move that out. Move it down slightly. You can rotate this if you feel it's way off. So you get something a bit more like this, and then scale it in. So I'm getting something like this. Again, going to the side view, make sure you're sort of happy with that. So actually the leg goes forward a little bit. Maybe this needs angling a little bit more, so it's straight. Pushing out a little bit more that way. Maybe bring it up slightly, because I feel that's a little bit too low. Again, just checking it from each view. And again, you're trying to keep these lines as straight as you can within regards to getting it how you want it. So you don't want anything like these twisting like that and then coming back round. You don't want these twisting like that, or else your model just won't work. You want to try and keep them straight like this. You're looking for that good topology. So there you have sort of a leg. Again, if we now go into the 3D sort of view, just go to object mode, just click off that, sort of see that's a leg. Again, you know, you may want to tweak that how you want it to be. So now you can select it. If we show, oh no, and go. Window, preferences, is it under here? Display. Can't remember where that is right now, how to get your display polygons up, but one way to check as well is just to go to your face selection, drag select them all. So currently that leg is 44 faces, so 44 polygons, which is quite low. So if we then was to press 3 just to smooth it, just to see what we sort of get, just click off that, just have a look at what it's looking like. As you can see, got quite a nice knee popping out already. The legs sort of got the right shape. It obviously could do with some more definition, but for right now it's giving us what we need. Just click 1 just to send it back to being hard edged. We can also select all the faces. I would not do this yet, but if you just want to have a look, you can also smooth them. Oh, sorry, not smooth them there. Mesh display, soften edge. So it gives that sort of a little bit smoother look, but not quite as much as if you press 3 and it doubles the faces or did anything like that. So you've sort of got this leg ready for continuing on. So I'm going to leave this video here. We will look to finish off the leg in the next video with the foot and sort of the hips, and then moving forward we will work on the upper body, and then eventually we'll work on head separately. So make sure you save this. We'll continue working in this this file with these images set up. That's it.